June 2017 Israel. I have heard and read a lot about Israel, Jerusalem, and the Holy Land. Finally, I'm here. The Old City of Jerusalem is one of the most intense places on earth. At the heart of the Jewish, Islamic, and Christian religions, this walled 1 kilometer area in the center of Jerusalem is beyond words and cannot be missed. The Old City is home to the Western Wall. This is the last remaining wall of what was the Jewish temple and is today the holiest site in the world for Jews. Above the Western Wall lies the Dome of the Rock, important for Muslims as the site where the Prophet Muhammad is said to have risen to heaven. And, just a few minutes walk away, lies the Church of Sepulchre, where Jesus was crucified and buried. Tel Aviv is one of the most vibrant cities in the world. It is a 24-hour city with a unique pulse, combining sandy Mediterranean beaches with a world-class nightlife. A buzzing cultural scene, incredible food, UNESCO-recognized architecture, and an international outlook. Israel is a gorgeous country with lots to offer to visitors, from amazing mountains and perfect beaches to desert scenery, and holy sites for all religious needs. But as well as all the traditional religious and tourist sites, there's one place that can be meaningful on every tourist agenda: Yad Vashem. Visiting of Yad Vashem is a reminder to Jews of the importance of rebuilding their communities so that Jews, their faith, and their way of life may be secure in the years to come. Understanding the significance of the Holocaust is important for Jewish people and their sense of identity. This is the official museum of the Holocaust in Israel, located in Jerusalem. Towards the end of my visit, I started to feel so proud. Do you know why? Because Albania is the only country in Europe that never turned over or killed a Jew during World War II.
Albania is the only country whose Jewish population during the Holocaust actually grew because of the refuge and the sanctuary and the friendship and courage showed by the people of Albania. We never forget our friends.
The Israeli Prime Minister's words really have touched me, and I really want to inquire about this topic. I want to know more about the past and the present. I must come back and continue my research about how the Jewish came to Albania. Why did they choose Albania? How were they welcomed from the Albanians? Where did they first settle? There are so many questions coming to my mind. One of the very first people that I met in Israel is the head of the Albanian Jewish community, Ms. Felicita Iacoel. She gave me the opportunity to meet with her compatriot. Could you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Felicita Iacoel, and originally I'm from Albania. I was born in Tirana, and in 1991, the whole Jewish community, including me, we left Albania and we came to Israel. And now I live like 26 years in Israel.
When did the Jews first come to Albania?
Okay, the Jews that they lived in Albania, they came like 120 years ago, like 130 years ago. The first one is known to come at the end of the 19th century. And then little by little others followed him. And most of them, they came from Greece, from a town which is in the northern part of Greece, whose name is Ioannina. And because at that period, the north part of Greece and the southern part of Albania, they were one vilayet under the Turkish rule. Vilayet means is a administration province under the Turkish rule, so there were no borders. So the Jews moved from Ioannina to Vlora, and the reason was find better conditions for business. So they came there, and they did very well, not only economically. What is most important, they felt very well among the Jewish population of Albania.
How were they welcomed from the Albanians?
Yeah, exactly. They had friends, and little by little they were like part of the life. They spoke Albanian, they got to know the customs, the traditions of the Albanians, and they were very well respected. They had very good friends in Albania, especially during the 30s. During the 30s, my father used to say that was the golden age of the Jews of Albania.
Prindërit e mi kanë lidhur të dy me jemi. Gjyshi im nga ana e mamas shkonte hapi një biznes në Gjirokas, edhe shkonte e vinte, dhe meqense se rruga në ato vite ishte, distanca nuk ishte e madhe, por rruga ishte e vështirë, pastaj u detyrua të marrë familjen me nënës time, me të 6 fëmijë dhe erdhën dhe jetuan në Gjirokas. Do thënë, vitet para luftës dytë botërore gjetën familjen e gjyshit tim nga ana e nënës në Gjirokas. Kurse babai im, mbasi mbaroi dhe ushtrinë në Greqi, kishte një djalë xhaxhai që quhej Rafaeli Apoi, që është gjyshi i Felicitës. Ishte njëri shumë i Zotit, shumë i pasur, edhe e mori babain tim në punë. Dhe babai në vitet mbasi mbaroi ushtrinë, ishte i ri në moshë, erdhi të punoj bashkë me djalin e xhaxhait tim në Shqipëri. Nuk e di eksakt vitin, po mendoj se ka qenë fillimi i viteve 30. Në vitin 32 ose 33, babai punonte në Shqipëri.
During the Second World War, Albania was conquered by the Italians and then by the Germans. But the real problem for the Jews started when the Germans occupied Albania. And this was in September 1943. So Jews living in Albania, they heard what was going on in Europe, yes? And at a certain point, they started hiding, okay? So, for example, my father, one day he was walking on one of the streets of Tirana, and he met a very good friend, and he told him, "Look, I am very preoccupied because the Germans, so and so, they are looking for us." And he, in the most simple way, he told him, "Come at my home in Kabaya. We have a big home, we'll give you dresses of that area, and you can stay with us." So my father, he took his sister, and they went to Kabaya, and they lived with them until Albania was liberated. And this family, the Murtov family from Kabaya, they saved him. And these beautiful stories happened with all the Jews of Albania. All of them, they were hiding among people that they knew, friends and so on. But all this, I think, is normal, because the Jews of Albania, they have friends, and their friends saved them. Okay? The most beautiful fact is the Jews which came from all over Europe. These people, they came as refugees. They didn't know even a word in Albanian. And the Albanians, they opened their homes, and they sheltered them, and they saved them. There were like tens of them in Berat, and in Elbasan, and Tirana, and Kavaya, and Zalher, all over Albania. And the most extraordinary fact is that the Albanians, they saved them. They were Muslims, they're Christians, they are Orthodox and Catholics, they were rich, and they are very, very poor people. All of them, without distinction, all of them, they saved the Jews. And this is really a wonderful story. And the world didn't know it until 1991.
He opened the door, and when the Germans came and said, "Do you have any Jews here?" he said, "No, we don't have any Jews." So where is the owner of the house, the landlord? He said, "Oh, he's sick, he's in bed, his wife is taking care of him." And what he did, he took the guy, the Jewish guy, he put him in his own bed, And the wife was sitting with cold and warm, I don't know, towels and putting on him as if he's sick. And this way the Germans went away and they didn't catch him.
What was special about Albania in those years, taking into consideration that Albania was a poor country and was not offering a lot of facilities? Did these people have any information regarding the situation, or was it just an escape route?
I don't think it was only an escape route. I think that those who came from Greece, I don't think they had to escape. They thought that it will be a better opportunity for them. Because Albania was poor, they started businesses. The Jews were not in agriculture. They were city people always, and they were merchants, so they can sell. And I heard about a few stories about how one guy who had a fabric shop, and he sold the fabric for, for weddings, for all kind of events. And he said, you don't have, and the poor people from the villages will come and would ask him if he can. He said, you don't have it now, bring it next year. So they were very clever merchants, because if you want to have a clientele, you must have to hook them to your shop. And this is, I think, what they did.
My name is Alma. I was born in Tirana, and I always think about my life by now, like in two terms. It has been more of half of my life already here in Israel than in Albania. I left Albania in 1991. It was a pretty interesting time, exactly after the fall of the communism. It was fascinating for me, not for my parents. It was a very hard time for them. And also the dream of my grandmother to come to Israel.
During your childhood, have you discussed about Israel with your parents?
My parents, no. My childhood before coming to Israel, you mean? Yeah. No. I grew up in communist Albania. It was an atheist country. Nobody spoke about this. Like, what was the word? Chifut? They would use that word for my father, and I would say, why are they calling you that? His friends would call him, you are Chifut, you're this, you're that, but that was like kind of a whimsical thing. And I was like, what does it mean? We weren't told that we have Jewish roots. So it was something that was hidden from us, because it was kind of they were trying to protect us because of the communist system. So, no, never. It just, like 1 year and a half before we arrived to Israel, when the whole thing, just became, something that was feasible, and they were discussing it, like, okay, let's do it, and let's move to Israel. But it wasn't something my parents, nobody left Albania before that, so they didn't know anything about Israel. My grandmother always, it was like her dream. I want to see Israel, I want to see my sister. And that was a bit weird, like, what is this connection with Israel, but not more than that. No, we never discussed this.
Si që të mirëpritur nga shqiptarët,
Gjatë viteve të komunizmit, neve trajtoheshim si të gjithë shqiptarët e tjerë. Do të thënë, ajo çka ishte e përbashkët për gjithë popullin shqiptar, ishte edhe për ne. Nuk ishim trajtim të veçantë si ebrejnë, ishim tamam si pjesë e popullit shqiptar, me të gjitha drejtat, me të gjitha respektet. E vuajtëm edhe ne sigurisht diktaturën si zhvuajti populli shqiptar, por nuk ishim të persekutuar si ebrej, përkundrazi, ishim të vlerësuar dhe të nderuar si gjithë shqiptarët normativ të tjerë.
Gjatë fëmërisë tuaj, a keni diskutuar për Izraelin me prindrit?
Gjithmonë. Unë edhe ime motër, që në moshën, ne kemi një ditë të shenjtë që quhet dita e Kipurit, në Shqip mund themi dita që e agjerimit. Unë edhe ime motër kemi qenë, nuk e di për të tjerë, por kemi qenë nga të radhët në Shqipëri, që ne këtë ditë kemi mbajtur që në moshën 14 vjeç. Ne shpirtërisht që qenë fëmirinë tonë jemi qenë të lidhur deri në vitet 67, ku feja ishte e lejuar, ne kemi festuar në mënyrë legale të gjitha festat tona, merrem atë që quhet macot në pashkët që bëhen për hebrejnë, edhe gjithmonë në mënyrë legale, sigurisht deri në ato vite që ishte lejuar, dhe më pas në mënyrë ilegale i bënim aq sa mundeshim ato festat.
It's been quite a long time since I've been researching about how the Jewish came to Albania, how after the Second World War a part moved to Israel and a part remains in Albania, and how they created their families by getting married to Albanians. After the fall of the communist regime in 1991, the Jews of Albania immigrated to Israel. Even today, images of a touching documentary that showed their immigration journey leaving Albania into Israel are coming to my mind. They were a small community of about 300 people, and nowadays they have doubled in size and they are successful. They have now created the Albanian Jewish community in Israel. I had the opportunity to know some of them in Israel.
Do you remember your first emotions when you were told you were moving to Israel?
Yeah, of course. It was in 1991, and I came here in a secret trip. I was in Greece, first time in my life that I got abroad, and then I had the possibility to come and visit Israel. But because Albania and Israel at the time, they did not have diplomatic relationship, it was very dangerous. So I took this trip from Athens to Tel Aviv, and they did not put the stamp on my passport, because I had to go back in Albania, and I went back. But those 10 days here were extremely emotional and interesting.
When we arrived to Israel, I was 16 and a half, something like that. November 15th of November 1991. Yes, it will be our anniversary in a while. So I had to learn Hebrew because I didn't know anything. The only thing I knew is that you write exactly the opposite way of every other language I knew by then. And then so after we had courses, ulpan, probably you've heard that by now. And this is how the families, the parents and the kids learned Hebrew. Afterwards, I had to complete high school, and then I went straight to the army for 2 years. Afterwards, I started my studies at the university, Ben Gurion University, and then immediately after the BA, the MA, and afterwards I continued with my PhD in Tel Aviv and my postdoc at Stanford, and then I came back, and throughout all this time I've been teaching and doing research. My field is political sociology. I study social movements in the Balkans, especially in the context of the supervision, the international supervision. So I deal a lot with change and what does it take for a society to create change. That's why social movements are fascinating to me. So it's a field that it has taken me in so many countries and meeting so many people. That's sociology. So when I think about my life in Albania and my life in Israel, I think being a sociologist, I think it really highlights the fact of how societies are creating, because we left a country who was totally communist one, authoritarian one, and then we came here and it was a democratic one. So how do you live life? What does it mean? And the way how everything, how you behave, how you talk, how you relate to people, it was so different from what we knew in Albania. So different. So it was, I think that was maybe the turning point for me when I became a sociologist. Like, how is it possible? Like in Albania it was like this, and we knew a bit about, Italy and the former Yugoslavia. And then you come to Israel and then something totally new opened up. So It has been quite an experience.
When I first came in Israel, many ex-Serbian Jewish families or Macedonian families, they wanted to meet me. They heard that there came some Jews from Albania, and we met. And the first thing that I felt was the gratitude that they felt towards the Albanian people. Because most of them, they were sent during the war. The Mandi family, the Altarati family, the Frances family, the Conforti family. This is some names that are coming me like this now, in this moment. Once I met a lady, and she told me, I cannot talk to television, I cannot write, but I'm telling you my story. We came in Albania, we didn't know anyone, and we were refugees and walking towards the mountains. We were escaping the Nazis. And then she said, a very simple villager with a donkey. He took my brother, he was a baby, he put him in his donkey, and he took us to a very small house, and he put there, and we passed the night. In the middle of the night, we heard somebody was knocking the door, and we were terrified. We thought that the Germans came. We opened the door, and it was the villager. He threw to us a sack of meal, of flour, and he left. He disappeared into the night. And this flour that he gave us saved us. I don't know the name of this person, she said. But he is like a symbol of what the Albanians did for us. I cannot point out who is the person, who is the family who saved us. Everyone. And I was so impressed and so excited to hear this story.
Për fatin tim fëmir ka filluar punë 6 muaj, 7 muaj mbasi kemi ardhur në Izrael. Kuptoj që gjurmë me zi e flisja. Dhe nuk e haroj në sa dashuri, me sa më kanë pritur në punë, më kanë ndihmuar, më kanë mësuar për shumë gjëra. Dhe diçka që kur unë bisedoj me moshurinë e mi që kanë emigruar në vende të tjera, është diçka që nuk e gjen në çdo vend. Atë ngrohtësinë, atë durimin dhe edhe sot që flet me gabime, që bën gabime të folur të pranojnë sikur i ti e pjesë e këtij populli pa asnjë problem.
The Albanian embassy in Israel feel proud for two things. We have close relation with Albanian Jewish community that keeps always relation and tradition with Albania. I am proud also because of my cooperation with them that daily they are promoting Albania in Israel. Also, based in their contribution to keep this tradition and close relation with embassy, in second summit of diaspora, Albanian government decorated them with high title as Ambassador of Nation. 3 of them, representative of this community, that present all Albanian and Jewish community in Israel, are maintaining close relation with Albania, with press and media, with business community in Israel. They are sending every year a lot of Israeli tourists in Albania, and they are present in the media to promote my country, their country, both country, Albania.
This pushed me to create these 2 diagrams. The first one shows the locations of the community in Israel. The second one shows how well integrated they are in Israel. It is very sad to visit and see museums like Yad Vashem in Jerusalem or the Memorial of the Murdered Jews of Europe in Berlin. That's when you understand the injustice, the pain, and the suffering that have been endured unfairly to the Jewish. Meanwhile, I'm very proud that Albania is the only country that has saved the Jews, different from other European countries. We are here today at the United Nations headquarters in New York City, where a special conference is going to be held talking about the unique history of the Albanians saving the Jews during the Holocaust. I had just visited the Jewish Heritage Museum in New York City. This unique history of Albania was promoted at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. For the first time ever, a special conference on January 2019 was held about the rescue of the Jews in Albania during the Holocaust. I do consider myself lucky, as I was one of the invited guests at this conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Alison Smale, Under-Secretary General for the Department of Global Communications here at the United Nations. I am pleased to welcome you to our civil society briefing today on a matter of humanity, the rescue of the Jews in Albania during the Holocaust.
Excellencies and distinguished guests, this week we honor the memory of millions of people, victims and survivors of the Holocaust. The stories of the survivors and those who offered them safe haven remind us to confront persecution wherever it arises, and that we have a moral obligation. We must not remain silent, and we must not remain passive. Albanians stand out among the courageous people who made an extraordinary impact in protecting and rescuing many thousands in the Balkans, ensuring that they escaped the horrors of the Holocaust. We acknowledge and admire Albania's tradition of religious tolerance and humanity, which resulted in Jews finding in Albania a safe haven from the Nazis. The United States reaffirms our commitment to continue to work with Albania and other countries and partners around the world to stand up for human rights and to combat anti-Semitism in all its forms.
And that's what I want to address today. Why does a country do this? Especially when every other single country in Europe helped the Nazis round up their Jewish citizens. Of course, basic human decency is part of it. But courage is the major component, and so is leadership. Every country in Europe appeased the Nazis, gave in to the Nazis, and even helped the Nazis. Albania was one of the only countries occupied by the Axis where the Jewish population was larger after the war than before it started.
The rescue of Jews in Albania was a matter of tradition and values. This noble act originated from deeply rooted Albanian traditions of hospitality, honor, and willingness to help those in need. Our ethical code of honor is called Besa, the promise. Its meaning is simple. You don't betray your guest and you don't betray your neighbor. Under Besa, any guest in an Albanian's home is offered hospitality and must be protected at all costs. Author Harvey Sarner expressed it well in his book Rescue in Albania when he said, "There are no foreigners in Albania, there are only guests."
And thank you for this event here, because I haven't known about this, although I spent half of my professional career in the Balkans. So I think it's high time that this unknown fact, this really shining example, is being light shed on. At the same time, of course, I am ashamed. Ashamed as an Austrian. Why could my compatriots didn't show the same courage as the Albanians did?
Humbled to hear all the good praises for Albanians and Albanian nation. Those pictures that we see are displayed in our mosque, are given a gift from Hebrew Union College to Albanian Islamic Cultural Center in Satnalan to honor those heroes and to remember. Yes, we will remember. We educate our youth. We have a Albanian Islamic school there from pre-K to 12th grade on daily basis. We nurtured the spirit of welcoming and the code of honor BESA. I wanted to say that these Albanians, they were not superheroes. They were not Superman or Batman, with all respect for these superheroes figures. But they were humans. It does not take a superhero to save human life. It does take a human being.
It was a little known secret that was hidden for 50 years. And to see it come into the light and be a beacon that the world can recognize the role that we must play for one another in the worst of times is nothing short of remarkable. It has been said between Albania and Israel, although borders divide us, it is our history that unites us. That history, decades later, would also unite us.
There is a small country in Europe called Albania where I was fortunately born, where hospitality to foreigners is part of their tradition. I'm not a survivor, but I'm a child of survivors born in the ancient city of Lora.
I think sometimes that Albania deserves to be called the righteous nation. Not only righteous among the nations, but the righteous nation.
One of the things in New York is many of us come from different ethnic groups, but we live in New York together. And in the Bronx, where I'm from, in New York City, the Jewish community and the Albanian community have always been friends, have always been close, and have always gotten along. And I think that there's lots of similarities.
There was something upsetting me throughout the days. That is when I decided to write an email to Mr. Singer, the Chief Executive Officer of the World Jewish Congress. Dear Mr. Singer, my name is Elise Naka. I am a 16-year-old child of the Albanian American community. The reason that I'm writing to you today is because the following days after the event, I visited the Museum of Jewish Heritage in Lower Manhattan, Battery Park. When I stopped at the Holocaust and Second World War section, I saw the histories of the Jewish being saved in other parts of the Balkans and Europe, but failed to find a single word about the unique history of the Jewish in Albania. Does the World Jewish Congress have the possibility to suggest to the Jewish museums, not only in the state of New York, but also in other states of the USA, to include this important fact of the World War II in their museums? My intention is that this part of history be recognized also here in the United States. I would really appreciate if your organization, the World Jewish Congress, will help with the promotion of the Jewish history in Albania. Respectfully, Elisa. I got a quick response, thanking me, and a promise to do something. I can barely wait to see with my own eyes the changes in different museums around the world.